I kept looking into the literature more, and I found that we can ask, how do you increase the capability of the person? Isn't that really, we're really dealing with here? And in looking at that, I found that there are predictors of resilience, and we can sort of repurpose those, if you will, for our discussion to mechanisms that will allow us to foster resilience. And these can be grouped into three sets. So the first is external supports. These are things like, if you want to be more resilient, find a good mentor, talk to your friends, talk to your family, trusted people that you can learn from. So external support. Number two, internal strengths. So if you want to be more resilient, cultivate optimism, empathy, and a sense of purpose. So again, that potentially misguided decision I made in Texas in the Ironman helped me cultivate optimism. I can do this really, really hard thing, whatever that hard thing has been since then. And then third, interpersonal and problem-solving skills. So finally, if you want to be more resilient, make it your practice to stay with a task until it's finished, to reach out for help when you need it, and to generate new ideas on how to do things. So those are some data-driven recommendations on how we can cultivate resilience. Darcy, any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, I think of, if you talk about the optimism piece, one thing I've heard over and over recently is assuming positive intent, because I think we have a tendency to not do that, and that brings up the level of negativity, and then it also brings up the level of being resistant to the change, to the challenge, to whatever it may be, and that resonates with the team. So I thought that's always a good thing to think of. And I would also say, and I'm going to quote my favorite Commandant Admiral Thad Allen, transparency breeds self-correction. So articulating when you've made a mistake, not just to yourself, but to those it has affected, because that will require that you fix it, right? Because now it's out there and people know that you made a mistake. You've owned up to the mistake. So it forces you to really figure out, how do I rectify this? How do I bounce back from this? And again, to make sure you preserve that confidence. I think your points are all definitely perfect, spot on. And again, positive intent for me tends to be the one that I struggle with, I would honestly say, just because, in my professional career, I've had a lot of negative experiences, right? I've managed to persevere, but at the same time, it's hard to trust. So how do you trust in a way that allows you to get past that hurdle, assume positive intent, assume that if I recover, things will be okay, right? So, but it's a constant thing. It's a constant reminder that you have to have in your mind when those challenges come at you. So,
yeah, this idea of assume positive intent, I think I've mentioned before, but we have in our house the Collins family values, and it's this litany of things that we have agreed upon as a family that we will hold dear, and one of them is assume positive intent. And so I was thinking about, as you were saying, we've talked about the Pygmalion Effect on a couple of episodes in the last few months. This idea that how I expect you to behave, you will behave that way, because you will get a sense from me, kind of how I valued you, what position I put you in, what I think of you, and you will amazingly respond in that way, which then will feed back to me that I was right, and I will continue to. And so it's this interesting phenomenon. But if we look at the root, the foundation of leadership, influencing others to achieve a common goal, as our definition of leadership, trust and relationship are vital for those, right? And if I go into a situation and I don't assume positive intent, if I assume negative intent, then I'm undermining that trust. And as a leader, I'm supposed to be the one who extends trust first, because it's only after I've extended trust to somebody that then they will reciprocate it. And so when we enter a relationship and we don't assume positive intent, then it undercuts our ability to have a good relationship that's trusting, that then we can actually lead out of. So I think that's absolutely essential. I agree with that completely.